The following is a Comfortably Zoned Radio Network production.
Thank you, Tally Olson. We are back, comfortably zoned in Nevada Pine Tar, the podcast about the book that George Grimm and I wrote and had published last September. And one of the things that we, George and I, who is not here today, unfortunately, we love to catch up with the folks who were instrumental in the book, featured in the book, added to the flavor. And I have with me today a fellow who wrote the foreword, one of the two forewords of the book, and one of my oldest baseball friends. We go back, we're talking 30 some odd years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Mr. Mark Littell, how are you, sir?
Well, I'm very glad to be here, Ralph, and I'm so glad you got the book out, because I know you put so much effort into it, and I was so glad to be a part, and that you asked me to write one of the forewords, and it was just a real interesting piece to listen to you and know you of the magnitude of what you put out there for the baseball world. It's so interesting when we get real specific, with this great game of ours and the people who are in it, and that's what you've done here is you and George have worked hard on getting this out the right way. And
well, I am humbled by your words, not just because you're my friend. You're an author yourself, and you know what goes into getting the final word out there, and the frustrations and the satisfactions, and more frustrations and more satisfaction. It's a roller coaster ride, but once it's complete and you look at it, this is my first book. George has written, he wrote 2 hockey books before this, and he and you know the feeling of completion, and I was experiencing that not only book-wise, but I've lived a life of not completing much. I'm an old hippie and living life and loving it, and having no expectations of myself that I wasn't able to fulfill. And this came along, podcasting came along when I retired at 65. Well, when I retired, I was 28. But officially, I was a senior citizen and came about the book wanting to appeal to people of my ilk who have great memories, and oftentimes the book will enhance those memories. And I've gotten a lot of compliments, none that means more than from you, Mark, because you're one of the best.
Well, thank you. The thing that you do, and you and I have talked about before, even when I met you for the first time, that why we gravitated maybe to each other were the specifics of baseball and getting the specifics right, which is so very important, because you have so many outsiders, whether they be new to the game, think they know the game, people who do know the game. You have also SABR people that are the analytic types that just sit here and maneuver and say, well, was that right? Was that right? Was that right? And then, that's the hard thing about writing a good piece is, did you get it right? It was the truth. What is your opinion, your swing, your say? What do you feel that is a little different maybe than some other, people that, says, oh, that's an interesting point, to bring up. But people do, they'll bury you if you miss a point,
Well, we try to have opinions without being opinionated. And mostly we ask the people that we interviewed or that I interviewed, and with the help of the crew at the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, yourself included, who interviewed these people. And we tried to let them take the reign of the interview. And we try not to be argumentative, and it seems to have worked because we're getting a lot of compliments. We're getting a lot of 5-star reviews on Amazon. All 10 of them were 5-star reviews. And we have a program to get the books in as many libraries across the country as we possibly can. We have a mailing that goes out to librarians, 23,000 folks.
Outstanding.
And with the idea that if you sell a book to someone, he or she may share it with someone and they may not. Or it may never get read. But if it's put in a library, and we have it in the Alameda Library, Alameda, California, and the satisfaction out of knowing that as many people will read it as are taken to it, and it can be taken out over and over again. And so our idea was not just to sell books. We're going to sell them to the libraries if we can, but sell them with the idea of as many people reading the book as possible. And we're very excited about that. And I want to tell you something while I'm just ranting. I ran a nonprofit for preschoolers years ago, and we collected books, and we distributed them to the Head Start program.
Wow,
and
great.
As you remember telling me, your mother was the first, amongst the first Head Start nurses in the country.
Yes, that's
and
right.
I think there's a basic connect there. If we didn't have baseball, if we didn't have friendship, we look at the Head Start program and as the most important, and not just the Head Start program. There are other programs, few and far between, on a par with Head Start, but it gets kids ready for school, learned. It's unbelievable. So whenever I do a podcast like this, I like to ask people if they wouldn't bundle up a bunch of slightly used or or even new books of all kinds, and take them to the Head Start program in your community. There's one in every community, and they desperately need help. And the best way of helping them isn't necessarily with money. It's with something that could turn the kids around, developing a curiosity, just learning to put the words together and read them, hopefully without moving their lips eventually. So, what can I tell you?
Yeah, it is important. I bump into people that have, want you maybe to do readings sometimes, and where you go in and talk to, 4th, 5th, 6th graders, whatever, and you do a short reading of what you got, and you're trying to hit a home run. Of course, you're talking to 4th, 5th, and 6th graders, and I think as intermingled, as diverse as the classes are, I want to say that they still listen to you, especially when you bring it home to them and you give your heart back to them. They open up, and I think that's a really big thing as well.
Hey, Mark, you've done great work with the veterans program. Yeah, tell our listening audience a little bit about that and why I'm so proud of you for work, because I'm a veteran myself. I know your dad served in Korea and he was injured in Korea. And how did it get started that you chose the veterans to give back to? Was it your dad's influence?
Well, that's a really good question, Ralph, because I don't know that it was my dad's influence, but, I was certainly around my father. He had dealt with a lot of pain. He got shot up pretty good over in the Korean War, and he had to wear a brace on his right arm, but he got hit in other places just as well. But, it was my brother and I saw that firsthand. They didn't know what PSTD was. They called it shell shock, I guess, back then. Mm-hmm. You just got shell shock. Well, it was my grandmother called it nervous from the service. That's about right. That's a darn good way of putting it. And so, I had firsthand information. My brother and I'd wake up at night, and my dad'd be yelling, and we knew what was going on. But Robert Wake with the Wake Foundation, he saw me over at the Veterans Hospital when I happened to be in town in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, and he had said he wanted to meet me, and he'd heard me talk to the veterans and, go to their rooms. And, me, Ralph, I'm not one of these guys that shake a hand, hey, see you later, goodbye. I'm not one of those kind of athletes,
As I said, Mark, you're one of the few people that I've met in baseball or in life that always look one directly in the eye when they communicate, and that reduces a lot of barriers, because if somebody is looking away, one feels the insincerity of whatever conversation or interaction you're having. And I remember Stockton, California, must have been 1980. What year was it when you? Whenever, it dates us both, but I just enjoyed your company then, and ever since. But,
well, the one thing I always tell my kids when I'm talking to them, because I've had some youth teams, and and I talk to kids a lot, and bump into them, and I said, hey, if you don't give me a firm handshake, and especially if you do not look me in the eyes, I'm not going to trust you. So, choose your poison here. Learn to drop me to my knees a little bit. Let me know who you are. Look me in the eyes, and then I said we can have a pretty good conversation at that point. So, that's one of the things I always try to teach the kids. But going around to the veteran hospitals and seeing the veterans in the hospital, maybe one-on-one, mostly one-on-one actually, going to their rooms, and then I let them have as much time as they want, to talk, and I hear some stuff I know I would have never, ever heard before, that some open up, some don't. That's either way, it does not matter. I just enjoyed my visits with the veterans, men and women, who helped preserve freedom for this country, and it's pretty neat.
Absolutely. The satisfaction of seeing your postings on Facebook over the years, and the satisfaction you get is directly proportion to the satisfaction you give others, so that you're doing a great job. Let me tell you that.
Thanks, Ralph. Appreciate that so much. Really do.
Okay.
But your book, people need to dive into that a little bit, because there's so much there, and like I said before, the specifics. And I know you're a big Mets fan, and they're on top right now, so I know you're smiling.
I am, but it's always with apprehension. 60 years of being a Met fan will do that to you.
Well, I don't know if DeGrom's going to make it back, but he could.
He may not be needed until June or July, and that's a sign of strength. Let's put it that way. Their pitching staff has been terrific, and they're just a better team this year. Lindor is doing very well, and they made some acquisitions at the Oakland Athletics' expense, perhaps, and living within walking distance from the Coliseum, if I needed to walk, that doesn't necessarily thrill me. Let me ask you this, as a baseball observer, what will end up with Tampa and Oakland in terms of, will they relocate? What's the word out there, Mark?
I don't know. I tell you what, I don't know if there really is a word right now, but you've got other cities that have larger venues as far as sport in particular. You can look at Vegas, but I'm not so sure Vegas is the right choice for a baseball team. It's pretty darn hot there. The other factor is, I don't know about the population, the in and out. You look at San Antonio, Texas, where I was before. You look at Austin and San Antonio. That's a very interesting venue for people. I know I coached in San Antonio, but that's just a large area right now. It's really blossomed in the last 15 or 20 years.
Was that a Dodger farm club when you were coaching? Okay.
When I was coaching, it was Dodgers. I think it's Seattle right now, I think. But for the longest time, it was the Dodgers. Yes. And,
hey, Mark, speak a little bit about what your reaction to the decapitation of the minor leagues by the major leagues. How is that going to affect the future talent? Are they going to get the instruction that they were getting? Is Major League Baseball just out of line in treating the minors as they seem to be treating them?
Well, you lost 40-plus teams. I don't know if it's 40 or 42, but that's a lot of revenue for the cities, and I don't know how much you spread the wealth of promoting baseball. But still, that was lost. The other factors are that, you were talking about, are these players coming up, are they going to get educated enough? Well, they're still missing cutoff men's and doing this other things, and you see a lot of mistakes. But it almost looks to me, Ralph, like it's NFL combine thing here. It's just so interesting set here, to where they notched everything down and they say, okay, we're going to take the best, but they're not going to take the guys that are marginal, and then say, well, maybe they could have made the big leagues, but why didn't they go play in Mexico or somewhere else or whatever? Because, they got burned out from hearing the same old swan song, no, we don't need you. But, so development to me took it in the shorts, because development is now on I guess a fast track, you would say. Say, well, why don't you know this? Well, let's get you to the right, caliber here, to where you can step out at a higher level, and then maybe, it's almost like it's a Montessori type situation where you throw them out and they learn from the other guys, but that's not always going to work. So,
Mark, there's another question I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you had if you were ever a rover in an organization. Yes.
I was.
Did you get a lot of satisfaction out of seeing the development between the first and second time that you were there? I'm sure you're in and out, but you gave players things to work on and what have you. Did you learn a lot about the player based on how he did his homework, so to speak?
Well, also you have to remember is that the pitching coach, like I was most of the time, because I was only a coordinator for 2 years, but you're sitting there watching from an outside versus being on the field. Even though I go on the field with them, don't get me wrong, quite a bit. And but you're not there day in and day out, every day. But you do see that development. You do see some kids that are just kind of, they just basically they peak out or they level off. And once you peak out and once you level off, you're of no use to anybody. You're not an asset. You're basically a liability at that point. So that's how it happens. So, I mean, I've seen people, Ralph. I got to tell you this. I've seen people, I've been at the big round table where we have maybe 26 coaches, and you'll have the scouting director and farm director in there, and we're making cuts, or we're trimming teams, or we're putting the teams together, and they talk about the Concorde being how fast the plane was, how fast it can get across country. I've seen a player from Stockton, California, go all the way across to the East Coast in a matter of about 15 seconds.
I got you. That move wasn't made in the air, and it wasn't. No. Thank you for flying United. It had nothing to do with that.
Anyway,
what's a move that you saw at one of those tables where you? I mean, obviously, one has to be politically correct. You can't just scream out, right, "Holy crap! What the fuck are you thinking?"
You can do that, but you got to finish the sentence off. Good point. I've seen that too.
What did you see that most surprised you? And you don't have to name names or anything, but what did you see that was so illogical that that even a guy like me from New York City, let alone Missouri, could get?
I don't know. The thing that you're talking about, it happens like everything's kind of okay. And these are just kind of small marginal moves, but you're talking about maybe, you don't talk about high round picks. You already know where those guys are going to go. They're not going to be moving up or down right there in that meeting. They're already going to be placed, and they're going to stay there. If you've got a filler, we have fillers, we have prospects, suspects, and then we have fillers. So anyway, so you've got the filler, and you're saying, well, this filler could be a prospect, and you try to say, hey, and somebody might punch me and says, hey, we need this guy, speak up when I start speaking up on this guy. I said, yeah, I got you. So something happens, and that's how those things happen. Not one in particular guy comes to my mind. I mean, because all the big dogs everybody's in line. It's just that one or two or three, and they're all kind of fun to deal with because you've got all these baseball people at the round table, and they're sitting there for an hour or so trying to solidify the 4 minor league teams you have out there in A-ball, rookie ball, AA, AAA, Dominican maybe. Rookie ball hadn't even started yet because you haven't had the draft, but you still have the Dominican. And then you have the squad that stays back in extended spring, which is
extended spring training, right?
Yeah, another hefty amount right there that did not make a club, but they have, they're going to either go to a team eventually because of maybe injury, or they're going to go maybe to rookie ball, and so they have to wait around for the draft. And we have games there with other teams, with other organizations that are playing out.
And then you have academies and what have you in all different countries.
Yep, that's right.
I know you traveled to Cuba to do some coaching.
That was Cuba was obviously we can't draft out of Cuba. I mean, they'll shoot you before that happens. I mean, you can't pack a big luggage box over there and take somebody back.
Right.
But Dominican and in Venezuela, Panama, anything's game. Puerto Rico, anything's game. Because of the free world. But Cuba being what it is, and I've been there 3 times in a 15-month period, and I spoke at a FIDE conference, and I thought that was rather interesting because you have basically 60 countries who belong basically to a baseball federation, and it's kind of neat because everybody's got headphone sets on, so who's ever speaking, it's broken down into the language that you can understand, and when you're talking, it's broken down for everybody else just as well. So it's like the UN, you're sitting there like the UN people, that part. But
right.
What a neat experience that was.
Yeah. Did you speak Spanish before, or did you learn on the go?
I learned all the bad words and all the baseball terms.
That's enough.
For what I do.
And the music. Can you say, Mark? Can you say, "Mi bueno, señorita"?
Well, you just said it pretty much. But I'll tell you something. I used to say when I'd go out the mound on just to have some fun. I might have a Latino catcher and a Latino pitcher, and I'd say, "Hola." And they go, "Whoa, what?" Hola, how are you? And I'd say, hey, tira strike de peteo tocó. And they'd look at each other, and then they'd start, and I'd snicker, and they'd snicker. That means, hey, you throw strikes or I'll kick your ass. So,
hey, laughter's an important thing in life. It could break a lot of tension. And when you're on the mound, I'm sure pitcher and catcher, high tension level, breaking that. I'm reminded of a lot of ways to break tension.
Well, your body language says a lot, even how you handle yourself as far as the body language, and where they stand on the mound. You almost have to educate these guys. Say, if I'm coming to the mound or the manager's coming to the mound, here's where you should be, and
right.
They say, okay. And I like dealing with the Latinos a lot because one, they come over here and they have a great big smile. They go through our cafeteria lines. They've never eaten so well in their life. They eat so well the first time that they throw up because they've never seen so much food. And then the funny thing is they'll say, me got worms, and I'm on cafeteria duty. He said, "Hey, Littell, guess what? Me got worms." And I said, "Yeah, I know. Get the hell out of here." He says, "So you had your shot." I said, "I'll see you in 3 days, but get the hell out of here. Don't cough on my food while we're, So, but they are, they're at such a disadvantage, and they smile because they've been told to smile. But you got to have fun with them, because a lot of Americans don't want to talk sometimes, to get in and talk to the Latinos, and you have to, because you almost have to give them, to myself, I feel, double time to make them feel at home. And
put yourself in their position.
Yes.
They go to a town in America, they can't. I was thinking of Minnie Minoso making the Hall of Fame. Imagine what he put up with, being the only first Latino, first Cuban. You don't know English. There was no academies in those days. Incredibly difficult to adjust to, assimilate. You never will,
right.
But adjust to a strange country with strange mores. Who let's face it, people have a lot of fear of people who don't look like them.
Exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right.
Yeah. So
Jose Arcia was and Martinez hung out together. They kind of took me under their wing in AAA, and they had just a funny guys. They were kind of at the end of their career, but they were also, Jose Arcia ended up being a scout for Baltimore forever, it seemed like. Jose Martinez ended up coaching 1 or 2 years with the Cubs, and it was always in baseball. I think they're both past right now. But Jose Arcia, he came across on the boat with nothing but his clothes, and I don't think he even had shoes at that time because they were lost. He ended up staying under a bridge and just diving in, dumpsters at that time to try to find food. And it's just a great story. I have in my next book about Jose. I mean, coming over here, 16 years old, gets off of this boat, runs, and now he's on soil. As long as you put your foot on American soil, you're okay. If you're caught out in the waves, you go back. So What a great story he had, But
what's your next book going to be called, Mark?
I think it's just going to be called Boot Heel Boy. And so I grew up in Boot Heel, Missouri. But, obviously I'll have a mix of stories of, character and baseball, and a lot of baseball. More so on the Latino places I'd went, like Panama, Dominican, Puerto Rico, and Cuba, as you had said, Ralph. And, give those a pretty good twirl.
Right.
I played in Puerto Rico. I played just one time in Dominican on an exhibition series against the Phillies, but I ended up coaching, so I was a coordinator. So I went over to Dominican. And then I went on with Joel Youngblood and myself and Roland Heeman, went down to Panama for about a 3-day span there, and I did the pitching aspect. It was fun being around Roman. Now, you learn a lot around a man like that.
Charlie Vassalero, on a Facebook friend of mine, and a Comfortably Zoned contributor, did a terrific interview with my God, his name. Rolly Heeman.
Roland Heeman. Yes, right.
And that you can go to YouTube, where we archive all the episodes, and just punch in Comfortably Zoned Rolly Heeman and Charlie Vassalero or whatever. You'll get to the interview. It's tremendous. Did you know him well?
I knew him from him watching me, and he would come up to me once in a while and say, you need to take it easier on our socks, or something like that. He was with Baltimore, and I think he's been with the Sox, and now he was with Arizona. And he was a consultant, type of guy. And of course, he's very good at he's very good at being Roland Hemon.
Right.
And you want him in your pocket. He's good. Good people.
Well, guess what? You're very good at being Mark Littell. Terrific podcast today, Mark.
Yeah, I enjoyed it with you, Ralph. We have fun.
We do, and I just want you to stay healthy.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to try. I'm going to sit back and watch this blizzard go sideways right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your woman is from the great Northwest. I guess that's what it's considered. What an adjustment for you, being weather-wise.
Yeah, it is. It's they'd only had 6 inches of snow, and last week they had a real blizzard, and there's another one right in front of us. But I haven't seen but 2 blizzards. This will be the third. But last week they got 30.1 inches, and this one they're supposed to get close to 24. But the wind's going to blow a little bit harder during this one, so you won't be able to see the house across the street, And
nowhere does the wind blow harder than on the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network podcast.
That's exactly right. I like that.
Thank you, Mark, for being a guest and writing the foreword on my book and being my friend and all those things. And we managed to keep politics out of it, don't we?
I'm trying. Yeah, we do. It's good. Ralphie, you have a good one. You too, and thank you for listening, everybody. Mark, you got a great mind, and you're quicker than me. That's for damn sure. Whatever.
All right. We'll talk soon, Mark. Thanks for listening, everybody. Happy trails and good day.
The proceeding has been a Comfortably Zoned network production. You are advised to keep your dreams wet, your humor dry, your children and grandchildren out of military recruiting offices and off the laps of clerics who wear dresses. Thank you for listening, everyone. Happy trails.